struggling to find a parking space at a shopping mall, and he starts praying, Lord, I can't stand this anymore. If you open some space for me, any space, I swear I'll give up drinking and I'll go to church every Sunday. And suddenly, the clouds parted and the sun shone on an empty parking spot. Without hesitation, Temba said, Never mind, I found one. So, good evening and welcome to Talk with Rams Live. Are you worried about this background? Do not worry. We are broadcasting from Cape Town tonight, not in the studio as you know it. And because we are out of town, or at least out of the country, I suspect, I've always said this is a different country. We have changed things a bit around for tonight. We're going to start with the opportunity Tuesday interview and end with our quickie interview. So we're doing things slightly different, in the name of Cape Town. Thank you very much for tuning in, as you always do. Thank you very much for spreading the word. Thank you very much for your patronage, for following our pages and subscribing to our YouTube page. We truly, truly appreciate it. Now then, the Technology Innovation Agency is a national public entity that serves the key institutional intervention to bridge the innovation chasm. I've never known how to pronounce this word, but I think it's chasm, between research and development from higher education institutions, science councils, public entities, and private sector, and commercialization. Trust me, I don't know what I just read, but later I got a guest who's going to tell us more about that. The focus is on technology development from proof of concept to pre-commercialization. Now, joining us to tell us more about TIA and their involvement with the Innovation Summit that we're partnering with, that I know you're registering for, sending them the code RAMS10 so that we get a 10% discount. We chat with Senisha Moody, Head of Innovation Skills Development at TIA, the Innovation Agency, Technology Innovation Agency. Senisha, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
There are two things I suspect. I suspect I have butchered the word chasm, and you can help me with that. My English is my sixth language. And I also suspect that I may have butchered your title a bit. It looked long when they first sent it to me. So give me your full title and tell me that chasm is cousin. I'll take it.
Okay. So I'm Senisha Moonsamy. I'm the Head of Innovation Skills Development and Enterprise Development Support at the Innovation Agency. And
what's that in English? That's like a long title. What do you do in English?
It's the Head of Innovation Skills Development.
Okay.
And enterprise. Maybe you would understand enterprise development and support much better.
I understand. Yeah. Great stuff. I did a bit of introduction, but in simpler terms, in your own words, what do you do, guys, as TIA?
Okay, so we're a government funding agency. We fund technology development, and we fund it literally from proof of concept through to the market. So anybody that's got a really good idea, we look at how do we take that idea from research to the market. I think it's always been said that we look towards academia, and we fund a lot of research out of academia and science councils. But of recent, you'll find that real innovation lies within communities. It's inclusive innovation, and you're looking for real life solutions in communities for themselves and to get solutions out there. So for me, the innovation space has changed, and TIA basically funds that innovation. So better known as the garage innovations, that we refer to them, people sitting at home and coming up with real innovations that will make a difference. And you're 100% right about chasm or chasm, and people do use it interchangeably. So it doesn't matter.
I'm on safe ground. I like it. Okay, so I'm airing in good company here. Yeah. When we talk innovation, give me some kind of ideas. So I mean, in my business life, and I suppose also on the show, we get a lot of people who come to me and say, I've developed this torch, or I've developed this new vest that can do this and that, or I've got this new remote control that, that stops children from disturbing me from watching adult movies or whatever it is. What are the kind of things that we talk about here?
Okay, so obviously we have some high-tech solutions that have come out of TIA, and one of them that I like to use as an example is Cognitive Systems. It's a company that developed security technology. So really linked to artificial intelligence, they're able to detect, and through their AI technology, they're able to know the movements of certain people and how that affects security links. So that kind of technology obviously can be used not only in security, but it's a technology that could be used, for example, in the healthcare sector. So you're really looking for innovations and technologies that can be used for more than one sector or industry. And that's looking at sometimes known as innovation, things that have never been done before.
How do you get this technology? How do you attract people to bring this innovation to your attention to a point that then you can help them develop it to take it to market?
Okay, so a lot of you will see on our website we have a number of calls. So we have technology calls that go out linked to key sectors in that's requiring new developments. So we will send a call out, and in that call out we will say we're looking for new innovations. So for example, when the drought is happening, we send a call out to say what are the new water technologies that people are looking at. We send out that call, people then apply to TIA. We then have a network of experts and technical experts that evaluate their application. We put them then into a bit of a business creation program, and we literally work with them to see how can they then send in their application. We assist them, and once the due diligence processes are done, so in a nutshell, we basically then fund that technology development. So from a call out, we could receive over 100 applications, and then the best ones are actually taken through a process with TIA, and we fund the technology development of that technology.
Have you guys always been around? Why don't I know much about you? What's wrong with me?
I sometimes like to say we like the CIA, we're a bit unknown, but
TIA, I see this.
the
Nicely.
CIA. Yeah, I think we have, you know, we literally, it's a decade later, it's 10 years later in this innovation space, and we're really looking at how do we market ourselves better. And I always say that with this whole COVID, you really realize that in order to get yourself out there, your social media platforms have to be up and running. So we're really focusing on a strong brand campaign around how we get TIA's brand out there with the young people or the innovators that we deal with. But a lot of good has been done. I mean, over 10 years, if I look at the transformation agenda that has been addressed, we've moved to getting a lot more younger Black people into these programs that we run. Just for example, in the accelerator programs that we run, we have a number of programs with other countries. And I'm always very proud to say that those programs came primarily from looking at older white males that we find younger Black people, mainly female driven. So we drive a strong transformation agenda to get the right candidates into these programs. And the countries that we,
Continue.
for example, it's the UK. We have a UK Newton funded program funded by the UK government, also looking at taking 10 to 15 young people to the UK for an accelerated program. All of them are competition based, so anybody can apply. We then go through this competition based process, and we then put you into the program for a year. We have a similar one that's now with the Innovation Summit. You'll see that was the same process. A call out went out. Lots of applicants came in. The 20 top candidates were selected, and they will be pitching at the Innovation Summit. So we've taken 10 of the best candidates. It's a 10-year long program. So it's a decade for all of these programs. So yeah, when you say you haven't heard about them, it really is, if you visited our website or if you know what our programs are about, you would have seen it. So once they go into the program, we then provide them with access to either funding, business support, or assisting them at our technology stations, which we have a number of technology stations around the country. So we do have state-of-the-art equipment as well as people that can assist young people to develop their technology further.
What have been some of the most exciting projects that you guys have supported over the years that I have not known about you?
Okay, so I'm going to mention some of the young innovations that have come out. We've recently had at the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program in Vienna just last year, the youngest innovator, South Africa, walked away with 3 awards, and the young innovator has come up with creating protein feed from a black soldier fly. So basically, looking at agri waste and creating then protein feed, those kind of innovations. So that was one. We then had a young female that has won a number of innovations as well and prizes. Most recently, where she was in an accident and she was disabled, so she came up with literally a solution that you retrofitted solution that goes into a wheelchair, so you wouldn't need to lift any person in a wheelchair off the wheelchair to get to the toilet. So it's innovations that people have experienced something bad and they've come up with a solution in a real life challenge with themselves. We also had Impulse Biomed. They came up with, during this COVID time, they came up with 2 solutions. One of it was an asthmatic solution, literally called the Easy Squeezy. It's literally a little adaptation of a technology that fits onto a normal asthma pump. So it becomes more user-friendly for people to use, and they also then don't take the wrong dose of what's needed. So literally a young person will be able to take their pump and they'll be able to use it very efficiently and effectively. They also developed an auto ejector for basically people that have problems. And then most recently with COVID, they took a simple solution like a 2-liter Coke bottle, and they've created a device, almost like a respiratory device, out of 2-liter Coke bottles. They signed it up with the Red Cross in Cape Town, and they produced in excess of X thousands of those things, just to help in terms of COVID. So you can see how simple products that you were working on that could have been novel or high tech, but you then look at other solutions that can be used locally. On our UK Muted Funded program, we had 3 or 4 young innovators that were to develop their own, come up with their own 3D designs for shields, for example, and masks. So there's a number of initiatives that has been happening on the TIA front, and we basically share the news all on our website and our social media platforms.
Folks, before I continue with Senisha, if you want to comment, please comment on Facebook and Instagram. We shall read your comments or your questions. If you want to send us a comment by voice note, WhatsApp voice note, 067-271-8239. Don't call us on WhatsApp. Send us a voice note. I'm saying that because I've just had to cut off a call on WhatsApp right now. We take voice notes and we're happy to play back your voice note. How much money do you have, Senisha? STIA.
So we basically, we've been funded to the tune of $500 million every year, but from that $500 million, but that covers infrastructure, that covers salaries, that covers
not only for projects. So I thought that's for projects. Wow.
But if you really look at the innovation ecosystem, and if you zone in on the model of looking at other partners coming on board. So like recently, we're looking at partnering with the Department of Tourism and looking at ways of co-funding projects. So a lot of these projects are co-funded. All of the international programs I speak about are co-funded by our partners or fully funded by them. So when you look at the pot of funding, TIA is here to raise funds as well. So we do that very well with the different funds. So one of our funds is known as an industry matching fund, where, for example, we put in Rand for Rand. Most of the skills development or accelerated programs are co-funded or fully funded, like I indicated. And of recently, the Department of Science and Innovation has a sovereign innovation fund, which TIA will be able to tap into very shortly. So in terms of growing the pot of innovation funding, if we really all worked together as government and industry partners, we could literally have a bigger fund. And I always say that you would de-risk the funding for innovation that much greater if you're able to match fund with industry.
So up to how much could you fund a project, or it's limitless? I mean, if I came up with something and for development of that product to its marketing and to take it to market, I predict that it's going to cost me about, let's just argue, 9 million rand. Up
Okay.
to how much would you fund?
So, so to de-risk what you've just said, we look for, like I said, co-funding. So if you've got an industry partner or yourself that's able to co-fund, that's excellent. But other than that, we do have different funds. So we do have a rapid fund, which is a smaller fund. Then we have a seed fund, let's say up to 800,000. And then we have our bigger technology development fund, which funds in up to, like you say, over 10 million rands. So depending on what the technology or innovation is, we do have different fundings available. And that bigger funding is called the Technology Development Fund per project.
Is your funding grant funding or is it loan?
It's a grant. So very importantly, it's a grant, and we do have some royalties once they commercialized, and obviously they're making a profit, but very small. It is a grant fund, and hence the reason why when anybody comes on board with a really good technology, we then at least expect them to have a client or some kind of market access to other funding, so then it de-risks their innovation.
How do we compare? How does South Africa compare with similar countries in the continent or even elsewhere in the world in terms of innovation?
So we have been, if you look at there is a national, there's NACI, which is the National Advisory Council for Innovation under the Department of Science and Innovation. They recently launched the innovation indicators, which basically looks at how does South Africa fare, and we've been literally doing, actually going downward rather than upward in terms of the innovation ecosystem. So I think that's something that we're really looking at. How can we change that? And for me, the greatest thing is in terms of looking at global innovation or looking at innovation for the continent. It's very important that we do not reinvent the wheel, but we rather look at opportunities where innovations exist and we're able to jointly develop the innovation so it can be scaled up across the continent. And that we've been very good at doing. So we do joint calls with other like African countries. We've got about 7 joint calls that recently went out, and we have about 13 partner countries that we work with across Africa.
I was going to ask you why are we going down and not up, but let's not get there. For tonight, let's leave it with, let's talk about great things.
I think I'm going to share the NACI report that has just come out. There's a full report with indicators where you can look at it across what has been the trends and what has happened.
I'd like to look at it. So you're going to share it with me. Great. What is your involvement with the SA Innovation Summit 2020?
Okay, so we've been involved in the Innovation Summit, not just 2020, but I would say for the past few years. But this year is very special in the sense that it's all online, and we're doing a pitch battle between Switzerland and South Africa. So 10 of our Swiss innovators will pitch against 10 of the South African innovators, which is quite exciting. And we have an exciting lineup of judges as well on the summit. So that is one of our involvement. And then there's also the Boost Up Africa, where TIA is also participating in that as well. So there's 2 main things that we're participating in at the Innovation Summit this year.
So I can tell you something for free, Senisha. A lot of people who follow this program are young people who run their own businesses. Some of them are side hustles, some are full-time businesses, 1-2 person organization, some even slightly bigger. And a lot of them have innovative ideas. And I can tell you they're listening now, and all they're interested in is how do we find TIA to show them what we're working on so that they can support us to, if not scale up, to then establish what we already have, what we don't have.
100%. So definitely on our website, there's, like I said, there's a number of call outs. All our details are there. which is www.tia.org.za, and really we'll be able to assist any young entrepreneurs or innovators that come through to us. So they definitely can give us a call. We are opening and we're still functioning, although maybe not every office, but yeah, we are open for business.
Let me ask you an emotional question. A lot of us as small business people may be great as technicians at what we do, but we're not great at conceptualizing things. We're not great at communicating what we do. What happens when somebody comes to you with what is potentially a great innovation, but they can't pitch it well? They couldn't even write it on paper in a smart way. Uh, could you do you go beyond just looking at the program and say, yeah, it looks good, we can help you, or we can't help you, or do you go deep and say, this is how best you can make this work for the market?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. We've been running these entrepreneurial programs for young people with a prof out of Germany for the past 7 years. He's been giving up all his time to work with young innovators and tell them just that. So they look at is the product that you're coming with, is it viable? Is it feasible? Will it work? And what we've realized that if it doesn't work, is there any other technology that we could link that young innovator to? And I think that's important for us because when it comes to reinventing the wheel, sometimes it's not necessary, but rather inbound technology coming from anywhere in the world, but localized for the African context is very important. And for me, that's the key thing. In order to create these businesses, it is about a team because one can be the innovator and the next person can be the entrepreneur and the next person really the marketer. But if we don't create good teams and if we're not able to fail forward in whatever we do, it becomes a little bit tricky. So we must be able to tell the young innovator what they're working on. It ain't going to work. And there is something else they could look at. So that's the bit that I play a very passionate role in. It's skills development, and my team really works with the young innovators. So we really have been trying to do this from school level, also at a community college level, and really build the entrepreneurial ecosystem because we do realize that not everyone's meant to be an innovator or an entrepreneur. It's about creating really good teams.
Do me a favor, with some of the business or the people that you've picked up on this year and amazing stuff, please drop us some of their names and what they're working on so that we can give them a bit of publicity and talk to them about what they've innovated, because we'd like to share in the excitement of the amazing stuff that's coming out there. Besides, I think that I don't want to be not knowing what you do anymore. So can we keep on talking so that I know what you do, but also to talk to people that you pick who are coming up with amazing stuff?
Yes, and I think that's very important for me. I didn't want to share some of what's coming through, but there's some amazing innovations on that pitch battle that will be happening at the Innovation Summit.
Great stuff. Senisha Moonsamy from TIA, not CIA, Technology Innovation Agency. All the details on the screen, and also you can find them on the website. But most importantly, if you registered to go to this SA Innovation Summit, you will even have more direct contact with them. And hopefully your thought could be the next best thing in the next decade through TIA. Thank you so much, Senisha. It's been wonderful chatting to you.
Thank you so much. Take care. Thank you.
Great stuff. Now, folks, I'm sorry my screen has been bumpy. That's what happens in Cape Town. You can never trust this part of the world. For those of you who just joined us late, I am broadcasting from outside, the capital of the continent called Johannesburg. I'm in Cape Town now. So we finished with the quickie. We're doing things the opposite way. And this interview was pre-recorded. Language is a very important thing. I have always argued that if we don't build mother tongue languages, we're not going to build a great society of excellent people, of innovators that TIA can help. If you look at the world and the countries that have led us in innovation in the last decade or so, South Korea, China, Japan, Germany, those guys do it because they first learned in their mother tongue. So Ambani is a learning platform that makes early learning easier because it allows South Africa's grade R learners to learn subjects such as language, mathematics, and life skills in their mother tongue. So we interviewed the founder of Amani, And she shares her story and how they started the business and how you can work with them and how they can make your young one to learn great subjects in their mother tongue. Because it's not true that you can only learn mathematics in English. This was pre-recorded, which means you're gonna watch it, and I'm not coming back to talk to you. Need to tell you this. Tomorrow, Coach Tammy Banda is in the customer service with us. Do not miss it. But stay with us. Watch this interview about Ambani, and shall then catch up tomorrow 7:30 p.m. Talk with Rams live. From me, Rams Mabote. Good night and God bless.
I'm good. How are you? So I was in the film industry for the longest time, but I think I was always a teacher at heart, even when I was, and I still am. But even when I was in the film and television industry, I was a lecturer at some point. I taught English as a second language at some point. So I'd always been somehow in the education space. But I think it came after I did my studies and I was completing a master's, and some of the research was around understanding a South African cohort that was sort of moving from their families of origin to their families of destination, and trying to better understand their relationship to language and culture. And I think out of that research, a lot of insights came out for me, and a gap specifically around being able to learn African languages and being able to learn in African languages. So the business started in many different forms. I mean, initially it was sort of creating resources, so things like books, and then it was going to be a tutoring service, and then it was going to, rival Disney. So we went through sort of a lot of different versions and different ideas before we settled on what the business is now. And I imagine it's going to continuously change. But yeah, it was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of speaking to people, speaking to parents specifically. And then we eventually sort of luckily settled on how do we really harness existing technology to be able to deliver this. I think also because a lot of times when you think African languages or culture, we sort of take we don't look at it as something that's futuristic or something that's now. It's always something that's in history. And so I think combining or being able to use technology became an important aspect of the business. Yeah. So it's been a lot of sort of young, Black African parents, specifically in cities. I think we found that with a lot of them, they really are looking for resources to be able to teach their children African languages, which is one aspect of what we do. So our very, very early adopters were a lot of those who are really curious and interested and wanted to know how it works and how they can access it. And they've been very supportive in helping us in the different iterations of the app that we've had. So they're constantly giving us feedback in order to improve what it is we're doing. Great. So I think that there's two different aspects. One is what we call our learning African languages. So if you really just want to learn basic phrases in an African language, then you would want to get our augmented reality app. And this is where you're able to purchase either a set of learning cards or certain books from our website or from our distributors. And once you have those and you download the free app either on iOS or on Android, then you're able to bring these different elements alive in augmented reality and hear them in the language of your choice. So that's one aspect that's for customers. A different aspect that we're working on or building is an app that allows learners to learn in their own mother tongue. So we found that outside of not having enough resources for learning an African language, there are those who speak an African language at home, get to school, and you don't understand what it is you're learning because you're not learning in your mother tongue. And so that platform is really for young learners, foundation phase learners, and those in school. And there we are aligned with the CAPS curriculum. So we offer maths, life skills, and language, which would be reading and writing in that foundation phase. Yeah. So a few, I'm part of the Swiss versus South Africa pitch battle, which is really exciting and happening next week. And I think as far as the summit goes, I've been really excited about, one, being able to interact with other really innovative entrepreneurs and to learn from each other. I think it's always, sometimes as an entrepreneur, you feel like you're working in a silo. And so to be able to hear from others that have the same struggles and have sort of gone through it is fantastic. And then also being able to set up some really potential one-on-one meetings with, potential customers, potential investors is super exciting. Thank you so much.